The day I sat facing the committee, the three solemn professors resting their chins on their hands like clairvoyants reading tea leaves in the edges of my transcript, I wondered if this moment would burn itself into my memory or if I would forget it like a bad dream. We were cocooned in that old, yellowed room on the second floor of the university, the stubborn window refusing to shut out the clamor of Avenida Cordoba below. A faint smell of chalk dust and overbrewed coffee clung to the air. My heart ratcheted inside my chest, my hands clutching the folder containing my documentary film proposal. I'd barely slept the night before. I'd ironed my shirt twice and memorized lines that now slipped away like water, leaving only primal fear behind. I tried to focus on Professor Castillo's eyes, but they wouldn't settle, flicking between a stack of papers and my awkward, rigid frame. "We appreciate your passion, Joaquin," she said, her vowels crisp, as if biting each syllable. "But your proposal seems ambitious." They all looked at page 2, a 6-part documentary that, according to them, tried to do too much, tried to capture the pulsating veins of Buenos Aires and the immigrant stories buried beneath her concrete. I'd written 5,000 words in one feverish night about cab drivers, retired tango dancers, hidden street artists, faces that had never seen a camera lens up close. My voice came out thinner than I wanted. "It's a project rooted in the city, ordinary lives that." Professor Ramirez interrupted with a tilt of his glasses. "You're still a student, why not choose something more modest? A 10-minute profile, for example." His smile was gentle, like he really wished I would say yes and make it easy on all of us. "I don't want to make another piece about markets or plazas," I blurted, surprising myself. "That's been done. I want to show what's alive beneath what we show tourists, what's truthful." Their exchange of glances landed like stones in my gut. "We need to put it to a vote," Castillo said, folding my typed dreams back into her folder. They didn't talk for long. It takes seconds to decide something doesn't belong. They thanked me, but I watched the gesture land off mark, sinking through my skin. I left without my project. Passed back through the echoing hallways, past whitewashed walls speckled with old notices, past students hunched over textbooks, a backdrop I'd grown tired of, a script I no longer wanted to recite. I sank onto a cold bench outside, the roar of the city barely dulling the humiliation burning in me. Home was Belgrano, in an apartment 6 floors above a bakery that never slept. Ma was rolling dough in the kitchen, hands powdered with flour, sunlight catching her silver-streaked hair. Her impatience came sharp and unedited. "Well," she asked, not stopping. She needed one last knot and waited like she already knew. "They said no," I said, voice hollow. She sighed. "That proposal was outlandish, Joaquin. Who's going to watch cab drivers talking to themselves?" I shrank back, shame prickling hot in my face. Pa came home late, his hands thick with oil from the garage. He barely listened before delivering his verdict. "It's time to stop chasing this. You want to make films, go film weddings. Maybe you'll get lucky and do commercials. Just be practical." Every meal felt like an inquisition. "Why not become a teacher at the school?" my aunt suggested when she visited, setting down a Tupperware of empanadas on the table. "Everyone loves Andres' niece. He's got a good pension." At family gatherings, someone always brought it up, half mocking, half concerned. "So Tarantino selling popcorn yet?" They'd cackle, slapping my shoulder, their laughter bouncing from one face to the next. I tried to smile, my teeth ached with the effort. Outside, Buenos Aires lights flickered past window glass, neon street lamps pooling around kiosks, the subway's breath rising from the grates. I felt exposed, my ambitions pinned for everyone to see, small and absurd, easy to dismiss. The city was full of dreamers, Pa said once. Most of them learned their lesson. Time wore my resistance thin. I worked odd jobs, ushering at theaters, editing wedding videos in windowless rooms, selling bus tickets at Retiro Station. All the while, the city pressed in, heavy with the hum of unanswered questions. I found solace in night walks. Sometimes I listened to old recordings, my grandfather's radio, the laughter of neighbors on a Sunday. I watched the line of taxis waiting for fares, the silhouettes hunched behind their wheels. I bought an old camera for a song, traded for editing time with a band who wanted their promo video shot on Palermo rooftops. I started filming anything, anyone, street vendors at Plaza de Mayo. Dancers practicing under bridges, their breath misting in the early morning. Ileana, who painted fractured faces on shutters, let me follow her for days as she worked. I listened more than I spoke. No one paid for these stories. Sometimes I'd ride the colectivos until dawn, trying to catch the faces that disappeared by daylight. I cut clips together in sleepless bursts, tagged with dates and names. It felt pointless most days, but then a moment would crack open, someone looking into the lens as if asking to be remembered, and for a second I felt something raw and necessary. Money thinned, I scraped by. Sometimes neighbors dropped off leftovers, and I swallowed my pride with each forkful. I stopped answering family calls after Ma's voice dissolved into thinly veiled scolding. Any interviews today, any festivals. It's not too late to, but the words never finished, they trailed off in another careless sigh. But I kept filming, I couldn't stop, even when fear pressed in heavy and dark. I met Hernan by accident at the Costanera. He was juggling oranges beside the river, hair greasy, skin inked with half-finished tattoos. We started talking. He spoke about being invisible, about his mother's house in Chaco, about the city's indifference. He let me film with two conditions: no names, no editing. We wandered through his haunts, soup kitchens, train stations, abandoned lots where kids played soccer with burst balls. With him, the city's underbelly wasn't tragic, it just was raw and uncluttered. His laugh sometimes shook the camera. He introduced me to others: Luli, an ex-dancer with arthritis, Momo, who built puppets from garbage. Ordinary people with histories wound tightly as the city's avenues. I started cutting their stories together, shaky at first, later growing more fearless. I stitched their narratives, overlaid with street sounds, accordion music, fragments of nighttime conversations. Sometimes I worried about the ethics, how to show their lives without turning them into exhibits, but their honesty stunned me, made me want to do justice to their truths. I sent the final cut, entre luces, to small festivals, mostly abroad. Months passed, rejections stacked silently, but one night while eating instant noodles, an unexpected email pinged. A festival in Berlin, a real one, chose it for their first-time filmmakers showcase. They wanted to fly me out. I stared at the screen, the room shrinking, expanding. I called Ma at midnight, but she was asleep. Later, I left a message that she didn't call back about. Berlin felt worlds away, snow on railway platforms, museums looming like silent judges. I watched Entre Luces projected onto a screen bigger than any I'd ever seen, my voice translated into clipped German subtitles. Audience members asked questions. Some wanted to know about Hernan, whether he had found work, whether I still filmed the city's hidden lives. When the festival awarded me Best Debut, I stood awkwardly in the spotlight, clutching a trophy that felt heavier than it looked. My hands shook, but I remembered every cab driver, every dancer, every midnight walk. I spoke about invisibility, not just theirs, but mine, how belief is a muscle, easily torn but slow to heal. I used the festival prize money to finish another film and kept working. Suddenly, small doors opened, international commissions, invitations to teach workshops, articles about the Argentine documentarian holding up a mirror to her city. Accolades came slow, then faster. I traveled, I learned, I craved new faces and stories, yet there is a certain pull to home, a weight in the chest that grows only softer with distance. Last autumn, 8 years after that university committee meeting, I returned to Buenos Aires with 3 documentaries screening at the Gaumont, the city's hallowed ground for film. The air was cool, heavy with jacaranda petals scattered on the pavement. My name flickered in yellow letters above the old cinema doors. Word spread. It made its way through WhatsApp chats, over counters at the bakery, through neighbors' gossip as they leaned in doorways. Have you heard? Joaquin, the son of that Vega family, he made it. His films in big cinemas, can you believe it? I tried not to bask in it, but part of me did. Ma still needed dough with the same brisk purpose. The neighbors keep asking for invitations, she said lightly. Your Tia wants to know if you'll sign her program. On the morning of the premiere, we sat at the kitchen table. Sun cut through the blinds, striping the tablecloth in golden bands. She studied me. I never thought you'd come back after all that happened. She searched my face, her jaw set. I wasn't kind, we were scared, you know that. I nodded. I saw Pa outside, watering the balcony geraniums with more attention than usual. He tells everyone you're on the news, Ma muttered, almost smiling. I almost laughed. Tell him it's not that kind of fame. Opening night, the Gaumont lights glittered against the evening sky. Crowds gathered, some faces familiar, old teachers, friends, parents, even the grocer from across the street. My family arrived, Pa in his one good jacket, Ma in a scarf I'd never seen before. Behind them trailed my aunts, uncles, neighbors who had once called my dreams delusional. A film critic, thick glasses teetering on the edge of his nose, asked me about my first rejection. What did you do afterwards? He pressed, pen hovering. I smiled, heart thundering. I made the film anyway. Inside, the room darkened, murmurs giving way to silence. The first image flickered, a cab weaving through Buenos Aires at sunrise. Someone gasped, recognizing a street near our block. My narration filled the speakers, voice steadier than I remembered. I watched my family watch the screen. Ma's eyes filled with tears as Luli, the retired dancer, twirled in the morning light. Pa gripped his armrests, his face tight, unusual softness at the edges. Skeptics sat in stunned quiet, leaning in as Hernan split oranges with his pocket knife, telling his story. A neighbor's hand flew to her mouth when her own bakery, slipping into frame, glowed in the early dawn. After the credits, the applause rose, tentative at first, then swelling. People stood, clapped, hugged each other. I turned to see Ma, hands pressed to her lips, eyes full and shining. Pa pulled me into a rough, quick embrace. Outside the cinema, the community had spilled into the plaza, buzzing with the aftershock of what they had seen. Old classmates nudged each other, you did it, you really did, and teachers who had once marked my papers shook my hand. My not-so-subtle aunt barreled up, grabbing my face in both hands. We were wrong, Joaquin. So wrong. Hernan, at my invitation, had come too. He stood at the edges, uncomfortable in borrowed shoes, head ducked beneath his cap. Ma went to him, offering a piece of pan dulce I'd told her he liked. We never knew this city, did we? I overheard her say. Hernan grinned, a little embarrassed. Later that night, we all spilled back to our apartment. The table groaned with food, laughter battled for space with stories. For once, nobody asked if it had all been worth it. They could see it, not just in the blinking lights on a cinema marquee or the reviews clipped out and tacked to the fridge, but in the dull ache in my chest when I realized I'd pulled Buenos Aires' hidden corners into the light and the city had looked back. When I slipped away to the balcony, Ma joined me, wrapping her arms around herself to fight the chill. I'm sorry for what I said, for what we all said. It doesn't matter now, I answered, leaning over the rail to watch the drunks singing below. It does to me, she hesitated, voice trembling as if she was young again. We just didn't want you to suffer. I let her apology sit between us, quiet and fragile. The moon spread brittle light over the avenues. Cars hissed past, restless as always. Inside, the hubbub of family, once so eager to dismiss me, now turned each memory into a joke, each regret into another helping of cake. I leaned into Ma, fear loosened, defiance softening to relief, as somewhere across the city my grandfather's radio spilled old tangos into the night. At last, Buenos Aires felt like home.